Welcome to Blog Talk Radio in high fidelity.
Broadcasting from Cincinnati, you're listening to the Ringside Reporter Podcast. All the news from the world of boxing right here.
Well, I'm talking to you the way I want to talk to you.
Now, here's your host, Eric Lorda.
And we are live. Welcome to the Ringside Reporter Podcast, where we talk about the latest boxing news. If it's related to boxing, we'll talk about it here. My name is Eric Lorton. I'm here with my co-host, Ringside Robert, and England's adopted son, Joe Habib. We have a great show for you today, and as always, you can catch us on the web at www.ringsidereporter.com. You want to call and ask questions or just give your 2 cents, call in right now at 323-870-3857. We'll be here till about maybe 9:30. I don't know. Yeah, somewhere around there. We'll find a way off of here soon. So today we're going to talk about Joseph Parker and Tyson Fury. Has that fight been canceled? We'll tell you about it. It'd be a shame if it was. Robert, I've got some bad news for you. I've got some news that, like, when I say this out loud, I can't hardly believe I'm saying this. But for the second week in a row, Adrian Broner is our train wreck of the week.
Well, that's why it's called the Adrian Broner train wreck of the week.
Let me ask you, though, Robert. I mean, is this something you're surprised about?
No. No.
Nice. All right. We will also be talking to Michael Montero about the upcoming Klitschko and Joshua fight, and that's actually where we're going to get started here. The upcoming fight will be Anthony Joshua versus Wladimir Klitschko. Robert, in a nutshell, I mean, without revealing your pick and everything like that, do you think this is like a passing of the torch type of fight? Is that what this is like? Is that what this is to you?
Yeah, I think this fight here, it will either be a new star is born and a new king in the heavyweight division, and this is the person you have to go through, or the era that we've been experiencing will continue. It's as simple as that. So it's definitely a passing the torch fight.
Okay. Beeb.
Yes.
Hi on everybody in the UK. You're England's adopted son. Is that how you view this fight as well? I mean, do you think, how big, let me ask you this, but let me start off here. How big is this fight in England?
Gigantic fight. Even on Mars. This is gigantic. This is a gigantic fight. In my opinion. That's how I'm viewing it. I'm really excited about this fight.
So, let me ask you, as far as like Anthony Joshua goes, is he, a lot of people in England didn't embrace Lennox Lewis to begin with because, he was part Jamaican. He won the Olympics for Canada. Was he, I don't even know, people in England loved him, no question, but I don't know that he was ever fully accepted. This guy, Anthony Joshua, they really seem to take to him. He won the Olympics for Great Britain. So how big is he? Does he have a chance to eclipse Lennox Lewis as the biggest star ever in Britain? As far as heavyweights go, and even Frank Bruno especially.
I think so.
In my opinion,
because he's very humble. He's just a very likable guy, personality-wise, very engaging to everyone. Doesn't really say anything controversial. He politically correct. Doesn't really offend anybody, but he has a killer style in the ring. So he's a baby face outside the ring and a killer inside the ring, and that's what the fans really like too. We've said this before. It's been noted, top 5 most marketable athletes in the world, and I think that's true. And I think his personality, the way he carries himself in and out of the ring, a lot to do with it, in my opinion. So I like the guy. I think he's great for boxing. And I think he would heavyweight champion, he'd be a real good look for boxing. I think he would represent the sport of boxing very, very well. Fury too, but this is a guy who can reach out to everybody. He can become mainstream because of his personality, because of his marketability, and because of the way he carries himself. So good for the sport all around.
All right, Beeb, are you?
And I'll show you how.
I'm sorry, Robert.
I'll show you how much England loves him. They sold out Wembley Stadium in hours, 90,000 seats. That's how much England loves this guy.
Well, and you know what gets me about that whole situation is they kept releasing seats. This was one of those things where they just, they sold X amount of seats. They didn't sell it out, but they kept releasing seats. And before you knew it, the arena was full. They could not put any more seats in it. Eddie Hearn would release about maybe, 5 to 10,000 seats at a time. Is that correct, Beeb? It was like 5 or 10,000?
Something like that, yeah. Oh,
yeah. So, and then they just kept doing it until it actually filled up. So there it is, man. All right. So, Beeb, are you ready to do your Beating the Odds with Beeb segment?
Let's go. I'm ready.
And now it's time for Beating the Odds with Beeb. Starring Britain's adopted son, Joe Habib.
All right, next week on us, Anthony Joshua versus Wladimir Klitschko, and this is a somewhat of a crossroads fight. This is a fight to see if Anthony Joshua belongs, fight to see if Wladimir Klitschko still belongs, because he's been there for a while. But in my own humble opinion, some slippage in that Brian Jennings fight. So let's get started here. He's a minus 240, and Wladimir Klitschko is a plus 190. So Joshua, the odds makers are really favoring him. He's a little bit over a 2-to-1 favorite in this fight. Judging off Wladimir Klitschko's last performance against Tyson Fury and also that performance against Brian Jennings, I have said I think the odds makers are seeing that this is not the same Wladimir Klitschko that has dominated the heavyweight division for 10 years straight. In the Tyson Fury fight, I just thought that although Tyson Fury was doing a lot of things to Klitschko, I thought Wladimir Klitschko, his timing was way off. I thought he really could not get untracked. And throughout his career, I don't want to diminish his career because he's a Hall of Famer. He's definitely going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer without question. But an athletic guy, the guy was always a lot smaller than him. And because of the weaknesses he had in size, he really could not take advantage of having that, athletic ability, because he was giving up a lot of size, giving up a lot of reach. Fighters in that type of category. But then also when Wladimir Klitschko fought a big guy, the guy not very athletic, not very quick, not a really high skilled type fighter. So the size, could not advantage. He could not be used effectively because of the deficiencies in skill and coordination and athleticism. So the one time I think in recent years that Wladimir Klitschko fought someone who had size was Tyson Fury, and you saw what happened there. Able to do a lot of things. It wasn't a fight that would set the world on fire. Both guys did not really put on a action-packed performance, but was definitely in charge of that fight. I thought he won that fight clearly and handily, 9-3. So once again, I think you're going to be in a situation where fighting someone who is big as well as athletic. And I think that's going to spell trouble for him. I think that's a recipe for disaster for him in this fight. Now, Wladimir Klitschko has never, ever been a guy who fought at a fast pace, not a volume puncher type guy, as being a jab and grab type guy, but it's worked for him. He's been able to line guys up with that jab from the outside and drop that hammer of a right hand on him. The left hook is also a good punch, but he never really throws it unless he really has the guy on Queer Street with the right hand. So he's not going to really open up and throw combinations until he hurts his opponent. A real slow pace. He's going to line you up with the right hand, the jab, and try to the jab. And, his first and second line of defense is, away from you. So when he does lean back away from you, he takes himself out of position in counter-punch mode. So he has to take that much more time to get back in an offensive posture. And I think in those moments, I think that's when Anthony Joshua can jump on him. Because Anthony Joshua, again, tall guy, long arms, away from Anthony Joshua, and he may not be able to get out of range. Just as with Tyson Fury is able to always touch him with that jab. The second line of defense is the grab, the clutch, the clinch. And that clinch was not very effective against a big guy like Tyson Fury. So once again, you have a big, strong guy in Anthony Joshua who's going to be able to contain with that clinch. And also, Anthony Joshua, his offense has been his defense thus far. Question his defense, how tight that is. But he does keep his hands up high, and he'll catch and shoot, and he'll parry shots. Catching a shot on the gloves, he'll fire right back. So, I think Anthony Joshua is really a fluid combination puncher. He has a wide array of weapons. He throws a lot of variation. He'll take that, that left type punch, that 45 half uppercut, half hook. And you saw he threw that punch against Dillian Whyte, and Dillian Whyte could not see that punch coming, and he was able to finish him, soften up with that punch and finish him for him. And also in that Dillian Whyte fight, Joshua would get hit with a monster left hook that I personally think could have taken a lot of heavyweights out of there. He regained his composure and, was able to survive the round, and he came back strong. And as I said, he finished Dillian Whyte. So I thought he showed a great chin in that. And also I thought, he showed that he was a great finisher. He had that killer instinct. And, he'll go to the body. He'll open up those headshots. Mid-range area, he can shorten up those shots. Everything is nice and tight. It's compact. The straight punches go right down the pike. He doesn't loop his shots, doesn't kind of wind up. He does have that great right hand. But when he gets a guy hurt, we're anxious, and that's when he starts throwing those wild windmill type shots, and he's off balance. Anthony Joshua does not do that. I mean, once he smells blood, punch count, and he gets his opponent out of there. So in this fight, I just don't think is going to be able to keep this young lion off him. I think because Anthony Joshua is so explosive, because he throws a wide array of punches and he mixes up shots and he's putting shots together, I don't think that 1-2 is going to be enough to stop of Anthony Joshua. So I think because of punches that he's able to throw, and he can hurt you with every punch he throws, he can even jabs. I think Wladimir Klitschko is going to feel every punch in this fight. I don't think there's going to be too many soft for Anthony Joshua in this fight. I think that, he's just a naturally explosive, heavy-handed guy. He's just going to make you feel his punches. There's no way of getting around that. He's just a heavy-handed individual. So I think, again, the volume, just the combination punches, he'll be throwing 3 or 4 punches to Wladimir Klitschko's 1 or 2. And I think because of that, I think that he's going to end up wearing Wladimir Klitschko down. Anthony Joshua to stop Wladimir Klitschko in 6 rounds of this fight. See it? I think that Wladimir Klitschko, his age, he is starting to fade. And I don't think he's going to be able to keep this fight at a slow pace the way he wants to. I don't think he's going to be able to freeze the action with the clinch. I don't think he's going to be able to lean away. And I just see him getting hit with some. I think one shot can turn this fight from either fighter. But I think that punch is going to come. And I see Anthony Joshua. Emphatic 6th round stoppage in this fight. Beating the odds with Beeb is rolling with Anthony Joshua in this fight.
Awesome. Beeb, I have some news for you here. While we were talking, it seems as Blog Talk has went down. I mean, we lost Robert. Michael Montero was on the line. We lost him. I just tried to call in, and it's just giving me the it just disconnects you. You hit one, it just disconnects. And again, this is a service that we pay for each month, and this is the kind of service that we get from this garbage. I hate Blog Talk. I absolutely cannot stand Blog Talk. So what do you want to do at this point? Do you want to see if we can regroup for 7:30, or how do you want to do this?
We could back in, but we could still keep the hangout going if you want.
Okay, tell me how to do that. Do I just hit end episode and then do another episode, or I just hang out?
Yeah, I think you can hang up and then you can continue to just try to call back in if you wanted to. If you hang up and try to call back in, will it allow you? I think you maybe may allow.
Yeah, I think I'll have to end the episode if I do that.
I think it gives you some time to call back in, though. I don't think it'll end the episode immediately. I think you can hang up and just call right back in, and I think it gives you like a couple, like 15, 20-minute leeway. You can try and see what happens.
All right, let me see what happens here. And there goes that.
Call back in. Sorry about the technical difficulties, everyone.
Yeah, unbelievable. While we're waiting here, why don't you tell us now? You clearly think Anthony Joshua is going to win this fight, no question about that, right?
I do. I really do. You know, Wladimir Klitschko, with all due respect, you know, there was never a big enough guy who also had the athletic ability and the technical ability to really match him. And I don't want to denigrate his reign as heavyweight champion. You know, even again, you know, the Brian Jennings fight. Brian Jennings is a really, really skilled fighter, a really quick guy, technical guy. But he just had a hard time. You know, Wladimir would push him or grab him and stuff like that because of the size disadvantage. So
welcome to Blog Talk Radio.
You could say
when finished, press the pound key.
I'm sorry about
you could play the game of what ifs, but let me ask you this: if Brian Jennings was 6'6", 240, with his skill set, do you think?
I did not hear you press at least 4 digits of your PIN number.
Do you think that he would be able to beat Wladimir Klitschko? I'm going to say yes. So again, you know, Tyson Fury was big, coordinated, and skilled. Won, and that's why I picked him to win. I thought I was crazy.
On file for your account.
So that's that. I mean, I just think that because Wladimir Klitschko has never had that big athletic type of guy in front of him until Tyson Fury. Again, with Anthony Joshua, I think he was able to, you know, be effective with it.
Right.
So that's just how I see it. You know, may disagree or could disagree, but
sure,
we'll see next week.
Sure.
Our menu has recently changed. Please listen carefully to
try
the
to
new
punch
prompts
in here.
before making your selection. To start your show now, press 1.
Since it appears you're calling back into a live show, we are reconnecting you now.
Yay.
There you go.
Hey, Blog. So now I got to find the, yeah, let's see here. All right, so maybe I'm in. I don't know. I have no idea.
Sorry about that, everyone watching.
Yeah, I'm really sorry about that. All right, let's see here. If you're out there and if somebody can do me a favor and try to call in here.
Yeah.
Joey Cuevas, I know he was trying to call in earlier.
Should be all set now. You can see the switchboard.
Yeah, I don't see myself on the switchboard though. That's what kind of alarms me.
Oh.
No, it's out. I still can't connect.
All right, so maybe it's just down or something. But we can, I guess we can continue. We can just tell them Mr. Montero that the blog talk is down, so we won't be able to.
Yeah, Georgie said Eric muted when putting the pin number in. We didn't put any pin number in, but number one. But number two, it's not going to matter. I mean, if you want this piece of garbage, you can enter my pin number. It's still not going to work. So that's kind of what we're dealing with this.
We can still do the hangout, I guess. We just won't have any.
Yeah, this really sucks, man. Because this was going to be a, like I said, we had a guest host on and everything like that. All right, well, let me text him. Let me text Montero real quick and tell him we're not going to be able to do it, and we got to bust a call off to Robbie and tell him we can't do it either.
Just went down, I guess. Could be technical difficulties.
Just nonsense garbage that we pay for each month. Oh, shut up.
Yeah, it's just not working. It happens. It's technology. But at least we got the Google. The largest website in the world, so be able to reach more people this way. With our buddies in the chat.
Yeah, exactly.
And again,
They do. It's more annoying when you pay for the service though, and the service screws you on a weekly basis. That's kind of where I am with it. Okay, and so let's do this because Michael Montero was set to be on here, and obviously he can't because of this blog talk. So he won't be able to be on here. But what I want you guys to do is go out to Twitter and follow him on @MonteroOnBoxing. Okay, he's on Twitter @Montero Onboxing. All right, @MonteroOnBoxing on Twitter. And he also has a YouTube channel here, and I'm going to look this up real quick just so we can give him a plug because it's not his fault this thing went down.
Yeah. Sorry, Mike.
Yeah, I'm really sorry about that, Michael, man. That sucks because we were really looking forward to talking to him. And I know he's got a YouTube channel too, Michael Montero Unboxing, and you can catch him there on YouTube. And go subscribe to him because he's got a lot of good videos out there, and he has some interesting takes too. That's what I liked about him. Is that some of his takes out there? I mean, he's got everything he does. I know I've seen him on the show with Steve Kim and all those other guys. He's got really interesting takes, and you may not always agree with his takes, but the cool thing is they're really good, and they always make you think. At least they always make me think.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So that's the big one there. So once again, my apologies to Michael Montero, and let's go ahead and move it forward here. Now, as far as Joshua and Klitschko go, I'll tell you what, man, this one was, I don't see the fight going any other way. I see it going one way. I think it's a one-way beating from start to finish. I think it goes under 8 rounds. I think Anthony Joshua murks him in under 8 rounds. I mean, that's where we are. I don't see it any other way. Everything that Klitschko does, Joshua does better. He's stronger, and they're both listed at 6'6". Vlad looks a little bit bigger to me, but strength, I think Joshua's stronger. He's faster. I think he's got more power. I really do. I think he's got more power, and I think he's sharper right now than Klitschko is. And the thing is, with Klitschko, his last 2 fights, you look at him. You tell me that's the same Klitschko that we used to see with Bryant Jennings and Tyson Fury. This is not the same Klitschko that we're used to seeing. So that's the deal, man. I think that it's a pretty plain fight. I don't think it's a great fight, but I think it's definitely a historic fight in the sense that you're going to see the torch passed. And what do you think? I mean, let me ask you this, Beeb. In Anthony Joshua's future, if he does get by Klitschko, as we expect he should, has he really come? Is he a complete fighter at that point? I mean, because this is a pretty big test for him. But that being said, on paper, this is a big test for him. I think Klitschko is seeing his best days are gone. His best days are gone. Is this a case where he's beating he's not beating an in prime Klitschko? You know, it's a passing of the torch fight, yes. But does this really cement him as the solid heavyweight champion?
I would say yes, and I think a lot of people would agree because, with all due respect to Deontay Wilder, he won a vacant title. He won that vacant title. Wladimir Klitschko was the lineal champion. He beat Wladimir Klitschko, so technically champion. If you want to be accurate there, if you're going to follow the line of the division. Know what's going on with Tyson Fury, and who's to say he's ever going to come back and be what he was in Klitschko? So he just kind of faded off into the sunset. Had a lot of personal problems because he's gone now, and we don't even know if he's coming back or if he's going to be the same when he comes back. On that list was Wladimir Klitschko. So once again, I think you could say that he picks up and takes his lineal spot. If Joshua beats him, then I would say that Anthony Joshua is the man at heavyweight. And again, we'll disagree. A lot of people will say, Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua. I don't think he would. But in my own opinion, I think that Anthony Joshua beats Wladimir Klitschko heavyweight division. And, I think that he'll be the guy that everyone will want to fight, especially seeing him fight in front of 90,000 fans. I think a lot of are going to want to fight in front of that type of audience. All the TV, you got HBO and you got Showtime money, and you got all these sponsors. You got the UK eyes in the fight as well. So there's a lot of money, dumped into this fight. And I think Anthony Joshua, guy where he's just going to be the money man in this division because, again, he's got that huge following fighting in front of those large stadiums. Now he's going to have that American audience on Showtime and HBO as well. So it's just a can't miss for this guy to become a star. Already Deontay Wilder is looking at a fight with him, and he's not looking at anyone else. Popularity and just the magnitude and how big the fight would be because of for this man Anthony Joshua to become a star because he is a star right now, but his star will be enhanced if he beats Wladimir Klitschko, in my opinion.
So let me ask you this: we've done a lot of talking about Joshua, and we've done a lot of talking about how we think he's going to beat Klitschko. Is there a way, how does Klitschko win this fight? If he's going to win it, let's play devil's advocate here. If he's going to win it, how does he win this fight?
I don't think that he's going to be able to get a decision as he fights. So he's going to have to hurt Anthony Joshua with a big right hand. He's got to take him out. No, I just don't see Anthony Joshua. I just think Anthony Joshua's would have to go in survival mode. But why would he go into survival mode if he's only having one or two punches thrown at him at a time? The way he's gonna have to get hurt. Have to be like a game-changing punch from Wladimir Klitschko. And I don't know. I didn't see a game-changing punch in the Brian Jennings fight, and I didn't see a game-changing punch in that Tyson Fury fight either. And I'm also seeing a little hesitation with the punches. I see the trigger not being squeezed and as quickly as it once was. As he started getting older, he couldn't pull the trigger, and a lot of that has to do with timing. And again, Wladimir Klitschko, if you look at his body physically, he looks like he hasn't aged a day. He still looks like he's 30, 35. It's all the neurological things inside the body that dull with age. Reflexes are automatically going to go. Timing is automatically going to go. The last thing to go is the punch. You can't deliver that power, pull the trigger, and you're not a killer instinct type fighter type guy anyways. So will he throw caution into the wind? Nothing else is working. No, he doesn't have that mentality. So if he can't pull the trigger in this fight, he's going to get taken out. There can be no hesitation in this fight, Fury fight, like there was in the Brian Jennings fight. Jennings fight was really the eye-opener for me because I thought Brian Jennings arguably could have won. I had him winning like 4 or 5 rounds in that fight. Could have easily been 5 rounds. That fight was close. And then they took a point away from Wladimir Klitschko. 115 to 112 on my card. That fight. And I thought he was going to knock out Brian Jennings. The very next fight Brian Jennings had, if I'm not mistaken, he got knocked out by Luis Ortiz.
He got paid.
Something. Yeah, that just says something. So, Wladimir Klitschko was thought to be the man in that division at that time. He was the best heavyweight in the world at that time. Have a close competitive fight with him, and then you go fight Luis Ortiz, who's no cupcake by any means, but he wasn't thought of to be as good as Wladimir Klitschko, and then the guy starches you. So right then and there, that tells you that, is changing in Wladimir Klitschko. And again, he looks great, looks the same physically, maybe even look better. I mean, he looks like he's in phenomenal shape. So what's being projected outside and on inside? Okay, you don't know what's going on inside because those reflexes, there's no way to keep them sharp. I mean, they're going to dull with age. That lung capacity is going to decrease with age. It's just normal in a fighter. And the guys who are successful, Bernard Hopkins, they're able to slow the fight down. Okay, they're able to be cagey. They're able to transcend their style into their later ages and add a new wrinkle here and there. Wladimir Klitschko has fought the same way for years. And, I just don't think that style is going to suit him with the reflexes slowed down, with maybe the conditioning a little bit less than what it once was. Things slowing down. I don't think he has that crafty type style. He doesn't have a deep bag of tricks that he can go into him be successful at this stage of his career, like Bernard Hopkins did, and a lot of other fighters like Floyd Mayweather as well. I don't think he has that same type of bag of tricks, that same skill set to rely on. And this style that he's going to be facing next week is really not, it's not a good match for him. His style is not going to mesh well. It's just not my opinion.
I think, and he's largely a one-dimensional fighter. I mean, he really is. I mean, even in his prime, he was a one-dimensional fighter. He's got the, he jabs you and jabs you and jabs you and then looks to clinch. As soon as you get in too close, he clinches, and that's what he does. And he'll mix it in uppercut and hooks and everything. But the bottom line is that's his bread and butter. That's what he looks to do. I think even in his prime, Anthony Joshua would have given Klitschko a problem, and I think Klitschko would have gone out of there with a prime Klitschko would have been put out by Anthony Joshua. I really do. I don't think Klitschko's faced anything like what he's going to see on Saturday, and it's going to be brutal, man. It really is. I think it's going to be a brutal knockout, and it wouldn't shock me. I said knockout in under 8. It wouldn't shock me if it went a lot less. I mean, if this went, if it went around 4, that wouldn't shock me. Nothing that happens in this fight, short of a Klitschko win, will shock me. And the reason, like I said, man, I think AJ may come out a little tentative. You're in front of 90,000 people in front of your hometown, may come out a little tentative, but it didn't seem to bother him in the Prince Charles Martin fight. So we'll see how it goes, man. We'll see. All right. So let's go to this week's action. On Showtime, Shawn Porter versus Andre Berto, 12 rounds it's a WBC eliminator. I tell you what, it was strange to watch Shawn Porter in the first round try to outbox Andre Berto. I actually gave Berto the first round. Porter didn't look like himself, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, if he fights the entire fight like this, he's going to have a problem. And the second round, he looked more like Shawn Porter. Came out, and just roughed up Andre Berto throughout the fight. Porter pressured Berto, and Berto just had no answer. Porter looked younger, stronger, and faster, honestly. I mean, he just the fight was stopped in round 9, and Shawn Porter just battered Berto to the body and head. Berto just looked lost in there at times. I mean, he was, but I don't know. There was a lot of headbutts. Shawn Porter comes in, and he's like that, he's like that running back. I mean, that team that has the running back, they just run the ball and run the ball and run the ball and just wear you down. But, and that's what I think he did with Andre Berto, as he does in all his fights. But the one thing, I mean, that clash of heads and the accidental headbutts, when does a referee say, look, there's a lot of accidents going on in here. When does he get penalized for that? Because listen, man, I understand accidents happen, but when people are getting busted up and everything like that, because Berto got cut too. Shawn Porter got a big cut, but Berto got cut too. And, when this is going on, when does he stop and say, hey, enough accident, we got to start taking points away, even if it's accidental, I think. Because listen, man, I mean, you still got to be on guard. If you lead with your head and you're coming in with your head and you're, I don't know. What did you think of the fight overall, Joe?
It was a great fight. And again, I want to just something that Al Bernstein said, because I thought it was very poignant. Really, really downplay Shawn Porter's style. They say he just goes in there and mauls, he wrestles. But again, really look at what he's doing in there, because there's a method to his madness. And going back to that Brook fight, the fight that he lost in a competitive majority decision, Kell Brook was able to contain him, grab him, and use up the action. And he wasn't really allowed to work as much on the inside. But one thing Shawn Porter has done, I think, is he's really looked at that fight. Kenny, I'm sure, has looked at that fight over and over again. Really added some wrinkles to their game. Now, if you watch Shawn Porter, one thing he does do that I don't like, and I think it kind of contributed to the headbutts, is when he comes inside, he goes in a straight line. Some of those real great inside fighters, like Andre Ward, I think, is a great inside fighter. Bernard Hopkins is a great inside fighter. Errol Spence, I think, even though he's young in his career, is a really good inside fighter. But one thing they do once they get deep into that pocket and they're sliding in, they'll come in, bend at the waist, and put the top half of their body, their silhouette, off to the side. So their silhouette is never. Shawn Porter comes in straight, and he moves his head like this a little bit, twist at the waist, and turn his whole body off to the side. By doing that, obviously, you're not in the line of fire of your opponent, and also you open up the better punching angle for yourself, and you can dig to the body better, and you can really get a lot more leverage on your shots because you're twisting more with the hip, and you're just in a more favorable position offensively as well as defensively. As I said, going back to the wrinkles that Kenny and Shawn have added, is you notice when he's in there now, he's getting low. And he's shortening up his shots, and he's really turning into the shots. So it's hard for people to grab him because the head and shoulders is not there for them to grab. So a lot of times they'll try to grab the arm, try to wrap up one of the arms. And when you do that, he's punching with the free hand. And also, what Shawn has been doing too is he's been stepping off to the side. So when you try to grab him in the front, from the front, the side, and he's throwing short punches, from an angle, from a side angle, and giving himself, a cleaner path. So he's opening up punching angles for himself while he's up close by stepping off to the side, either side, left or right. The only one thing I wish he would do, though, is I wish he would just dip down to the side a little bit, because I think it would help him avoid the headbutts, number one, and it would allow him to give himself a better punching angle movement. So it'll be more of a subtle move for him. Being able to duck down like that and making himself a compact target and a harder target to, I think that's great. And also that little sidestep, turning his opponent, and also when his opponent grabs him, he's pushing his opponent, and he's him wants him to be so he can line up the shots a little bit better, and all that comes with the dipping the shoulder in there, the little nudge here, little nudge there as well. Shawn Porter's style is a very taxing style to deal with physically for anybody. On any given night, I don't care what anyone says, welterweight in the world. He really can. I think that the toughest fight for him out there would be an Errol Spence, because again, Errol Spence, a lot of that subtle stuff, a lot of that slick, cagey stuff, to see if he would be able to roughhouse a guy, Spence, who's real slick and won't really stay straight in front of you, because he's the guy, like I said, ducks and twists at the waist and gets low, but also, doesn't just move the head and shoulders like this and ducking and slipping and sliding away from stuff. And that's just one element I would like to see added to Shawn Porter's game, as I said earlier. But all in all, he's really perfected, swarming, mauling type style. He's punching in there. It's not like he's just grabbing and pushing and, throwing guys around. Setting up shots. He's shortening up shots. He's maneuvering his opponent, him up to give himself the best punching angle possible. So before, he was smothering himself a little bit early on in his career, and in the Cal Brook fight, I thought that he, was inviting the clinch, accepting the clinch on the inside. Andre Berto tried to hold him up close, and he wasn't able to do it. And I thought that Keith Thurman fight was razor thin. And I think Keith's legs saved him a little bit in that fight, because he's got an exceptional game when it comes to movement with his legs. He's really good at getting out of harm's way with his lateral movement with his legs, and it saved him. But also, Shawn's relentlessness really troubled him as well. So that fight was razor close in that fight, but he narrowly won that fight. These guys could fight 10 times, could be split down the middle, 5-5, or even 6-4, whatever. That's how closely these are, and that's how great these two styles mesh. And I thought that was an outstanding fight. And I thought this fight, was a very exciting fight too. I think Porter made this fight exciting, and I thought Berto made this fight exciting with those little uppercuts here and there. But again, he just could not Shawn Porter off, and that was the big difference here.
Let me ask you a question, Beeb. So the consensus in the chat is that that kind of Berto folded over the fight, and I think that was due to the pressure of Shawn Porter. And I don't think there's any shame. I think a lot of people fold under the pressure of Shawn Porter.
Yeah, there's no shame in that. No shame in that.
Georgie's saying in the chat that about the Porter throwing elbows and stuff like that, and leading with his head and the headbutts. Let me ask you: is Porter a dirty fighter?
Not at all.
He does tend to get himself in these situations. I mean, is he a dirty fighter?
Not at all. And again, it's because, as I said, when you're in close and you're throwing a short punch, if you're throwing a short punch and you lean off to the side instead of leaning forward, he's throwing the right hand and he's leaning forward straight. Throw right hand and come like this. Just twist his body off to the side. Having more damage than Andre Berto as a result of these headbutts. So do you think he would intentionally put himself in harm's way? No, he just needs to, learn to twist that body off to the side. He's going, lean away. When you're taught to throw a hook, you're taught to twist your body and look in the other direction. He's throwing hooks and he's leaping in and he's coming forward like this. He's throwing right hands and he's coming forward like this. Body off to the side when punching. Preserve his career. You know what I'm saying? So he was the one incurring the damage. So do you think he would intentionally do that to himself? Absolutely not. It's almost the same thing with Tim Bradley. Tim Bradley, You know, he would get up and low, but he would lean. He would lean and come up forward like this, coming up, and then coming up and finishing off here. He was bringing his head back to the center like this, and that's why he was causing the headbutts. So when you get up underneath your opponent off center, you know, conditions himself to keep his head off center, does like Andre Ward does, like Errol Spence does, then I don't think those headbutts would occur. It's just a little tweaking technique, and I think he'll be fine. But I just him and Ted Bradley, they just keep their head in the center, and they attack in their head center where it should be off center. In my opinion, I don't think it's intentional. It's incidental contact. You know, okay. It is what it is, in my opinion.
Well, let me ask you this, because it is incidental content, and the referee actually said it was accidental and that kind of thing. Should there be some kind of penalty incurred? Because if it's always accidental, but it's happening over and over and over again, should there be some kind of penalty incurred for this?
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to be totally honest with you. I think those headbutts occurred if Andre Berto was the one suffering the damage that Shawn Porter was suffering. That would have taken a point away, because he would have seen Andre Berto being because Andre Berto was the recipient of all the headbutts for the most part. Shawn Porter, whether it be incidental or not, admittedly he was the one initiating them, and he admitted that. But I think because he was the one incurring the damage, I think the referee kind of cut him some slack. Whether or not that's right or not is open to debate. Like, Andre Berto suffered a cut as well, but Shawn Porter's face was like really sliced open. Yeah. It looked like it went through a meat grinder. So I think because of that, he may have caught a break.
Right.
The fight was just so good. And the thing is this too, you have to look at. Porter was constantly throwing punches when he was moving forward.
Yeah.
So that in itself suggests to the referee.
Yeah.
Exactly. If he's just leaning in and not throwing punches, it's going to be a red flag. But by him, leaning in while throwing punches, to myself and the referee, I would assume that it's incidental, that he is making contact with his head in the process of throwing a punch. Saw it, and I think the referee saw it the same way. And again, it's totally, up to the referee's discretion what he wants to do, how he wants to interpret it. But I think that's how it was interpreted by this referee last night, and this is how I interpret it myself. Okay.
Very good. All right, let's move ahead here to Jermell Charlo versus Charles Hatley. 12 rounds for Charlo's WBC junior middleweight title. Charlo, I tell you what, he looked really good here. He was in total control of this fight from start to finish. Nothing that Hatley did was a surprise for Charlo. Charlo landed 1-2s at will and just completely frustrated Hatley. The end came in round 6 as Charlo hit him with a straight right hand that put him away. And there were some tense moments after this, man, because he wasn't moving. I mean, he was out cold. I mean, he put him to sleep. They finally got him up, and he was actually able to leave the ring on his own, so he was good. It was about 32 seconds in round 6 that was the time of the KO. I thought Charlo looked great. I really did, man. I thought he can box, he can move, he can slug, and he's got power. I mean, he's got power. And not that Charles Hatley is a second coming. I'm not saying that at all. And and a lot of people were ragging on him for being the number 1 contender. Hey, I mean, it is what it is. He had a lot of baggage coming into this fight too, and he was suing his promoter, Don King. Everybody knew about that. That being said, I think he could have come in here with no baggage at all, the best training camp he ever had, and still got iced like that. Charlo was just definitely on another level last night. Where does Charlo go from here?
Charlo could be the man in this division. I'd love to see him fight Demetrius Andrade. Before I said that Demetrius Andrade was the best fighter in this division.
Yeah.
But I'm starting to second guess myself because Jermell Charlo is really a hard puncher. It was a vicious punch. And it was a dangerous punch because it was a punch that I don't think anyone would have saw coming.
No.
In that situation, to throw those types of punches with power that your opponent doesn't see and doesn't expect, because you're making those subtle moves, as Paulie Malignaggi said, which was because a lot of guys would not have been in that position. You know, a sense of timing and a sense of, you know, knowing where you are in the ring, and just that's something that you've practiced over and over in the gym, being in sparring sessions, and you know that's something that you just have to do that split second. You don't have any time to think. That's just instinctive split second timing. You know, flawlessly executed, and I was very impressed with that. The guy, you know, out of the two brothers that was thought to be more of the boxer was thought to be the puncher. But now he's starting to show some power in these last two fights. Like he's, you know, these were highlight reel knockouts, these last two fights. So wrinkle to his game, being that really technical boxer from the outside, guy who's really good on his feet as well. Outstanding jab, really good at gauging distance and keeping the guy, you know, at an arm's length. But now he's, you know, getting in the danger zone here. He's in the kitchen. You know, things are heating up. He's up close. You know, he's making those little side steps, stepping around his opponent and firing, you know, deadly short shots up close. I'm not used to seeing. And you know, because of that, I'm kind of changing my tune a little bit. This guy, now that his brother's gone, and now that I've seen Demetrius Andre's last fight, I wasn't entirely impressed with him in his last fight.
Not at all.
You know, he's been inactive. That he's really wanted. Complacency sitting in his mind right now. The Charlo brothers have been steady, active, steady fighting, solid comp. Charles Hatley wasn't a world beater. He was a guy that was just pulling straight back, a guy that dropped his hands a lot, a guy that kept his hands so far in front of his face that, I mean, he gave so many openings. And I don't think that Charles Hatley was a really, really good defensive fighter at all. But again, you know, Jermell Charlo made every punch count.
Yeah.
He set everything up. He was patient. That was a beautifully executed right hand, beautifully executed counter right hand.
It was, and I tell you, I can't.
That couldn't have been drawn up. That couldn't have been drawn up any better.
Right. And I can't say that Andrade beats Charlo. I mean, I wasn't really. I gotta be honest, man. I wasn't real impressed with the Charlos when they were first coming on the scene. They're getting boy, they got a lot better, man. Both of them. I mean, both. Yeah, that's the deal. That's the issue. They're hungry, and you can tell. You can tell. We have a question from Earthquake in the chat. He said Charlo versus Hurd or Andrade, and he said, I still think Lubin is the best, but I want to see him fight Deloach first. Here's the deal. I think Charlo ices Jarrett Hurd. I'm not big on Jarrett Hurd, especially after his last fight. I didn't think he looked that great, honestly. And then we were just talking about Charlo versus Andrade. I mean, that's not a walkover for Andrade, man. That's for sure. And with Charlo being more active and everything like that, that's a tough one, man. Andrade didn't look that great in his last fight. So, but as far as Erickson Lubin being the best in the division, I mean, he's going to fight. Maybe he fights Deloach first. But as far as him being the best in the division, I don't know, man. Lubin definitely looks good. Is he ready for a guy like Charlo right now, man? I don't know. It might be too early for him. I don't know. What were your thoughts on Erickson Lubin, Beeb?
I like Erickson Lubin, but I don't think he's got as much. I think he's as versatile, and I don't think he has the overall game that Jermell Charlo has. I just don't. I think he moves well. I just don't think that he sets the punches up. I don't think that he's as patient. I just don't think that he's as dangerous as a Jermell Charlo. I really don't. I don't think he's as quick. I think he's a good outside fighter, but I don't like what happens when guys crowd him and guys pressure him a little bit. I just don't. I'm not 100% impressed with how he deals with the guys who try to get in his chest a little bit. That's one thing that I think that an aggressive type fighter, guy that moves forward, a guy that's able to push him back, because the Charlo brothers can fight a little bit. Jamel a little bit on the back foot. He's a good counter puncher. So I don't know. I like Lou, but don't get me wrong. He's a quick, athletic guy himself. But I think that type guy, and I don't think that he could deal with Charlo if Charlo starts to step to him a little bit. I think he could be pushed back, and he could be overwhelmed. I think, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Charlo, we saw him do that to John Jackson. So
right.
You know, he switched things up a little bit, and he became the aggressor. So I don't know. I don't will be able to deal with that, in my opinion.
Also on that undercard was I didn't catch this fight. I caught snippets of the next fight we're going to talk about, but Amanda Serrano versus Dahiana Santana, 10 rounds for the vacant WBO women's bantamweight title. And this gave her what, five
titles, yeah.
Five different titles. Is it 5 different weight classes or just 5 different titles?
No, 5 different weight classes, from what I understand.
Wow. I mean, because this was like bantamweight. I mean, you know, I don't know.
She's a small girl.
Yeah. She won by TKO at 114 of round 8. Serrano captures the WBO bantamweight title and is now 32-1, 1 loss, 1 draw, and 24 KOs. What do you think? I mean, she's a 5-time champion, and nobody knows her name. Why?
Yeah. Well, I mean, she's in the lighter weight classes. She's not really a knockout puncher. I don't know. She may just not have that crossover appeal. I hate to say that, but I don't think that women's boxing is really being pushed right now. Really not being pushed. And as I said before, you know, you have to be really dynamic, whether it be a dynamic style or have a dynamic personality. That X factor, and with all due respect, I don't think she has that X factor. Can she develop it? Can something happen? I don't know. I hope it does, because she's a good young fighter, good tough fighter. Yeah, I was thinking about what Robbie was saying too about the 2-minute rounds, and it's crazy because those rounds, like it's like so fast. Like, you know, it was just crazy how fast they would start, and you'd be like, oh, it's over now. It's like they really need to do something with those rounds. And the crazy thing too is they were getting tired. 2-minute rounds. So wow.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
you know, but nobody. I mean, you look at the girls they have, and I haven't seen one that really grabbed. And you know what kills me is like the UFC did such a good job with Ronda Rousey. They continue to do a good job with their women's division and everything like that. And it seems like we have somebody like that. I mean, you look at Clarissa Shields, who's, you know, a little bit more brash than the rest of the women. You had Layla Ali, who was definitely more brash, and none of them were really able to cross over. I mean, they really weren't. None of them. And it still continues. Yeah, she was really the only one. She really was.
Yeah, she had a story. Yeah. Layla Ali didn't do bad. I mean, she was okay. I thought Lucia Riker was going to be the one. I mean, she was.
Oh, yeah.
She's really good.
Yeah. So 2 factors. He said they need looks and dominance. Earthquake does. Yeah, I think he's right. I think, you know, if we see somebody going out there and murking people, you know, in the first round, you know, I mean, like, you know, a la Ronda Rousey, I mean, who had, you know, a string of first round arm bars, you know.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's that does it too. I mean, I don't know. I mean, an 8-round stoppage, and she's a 5-time champion in the bantamweight division. I mean, it's not, you know, I don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong. Listen, man, for Serrano, this is incredible. This is an incredible accomplishment for a boxer, for any boxer, you know. But here she is on the undercard of these two big fights, and she was fighting on what, Show Extreme? You know?
Yeah.
You know, what can you do, man?
Yeah.
What can you do? The other undercard fight on, I believe it was on Show Extreme. I'm not 100% sure. I caught snippets of the fight. This one was really heartbreaking for me. Jose Miguel Borrego versus John Delperdang. John Bang Bang Delperdang.
Yeah, that was on the card too.
This fight was back and forth. Borrego getting the better most of the exchanges. He used his angles, used his jab. Delperdang, you know, starts slow. He's a slow starting fighter, you know, but he started landing around the fourth round, started putting the stuff together, but in the end, Borrego was just too much for him and won via TKO in round 8. Borrego moves to 12-0, 11 KOs, while Delperdang drops to 10-3 with 9 KOs. I think this was a bad fight for Delperdang. I really do. And what's so heartbreaking about it is that I think he really has, you know, he had a future. He had a big future, I think, if they would have brought him along right, you know, and I don't know who's making the matches for him. I don't know how they're doing. I don't know. I don't know too much about his career. I know he was in Cincinnati, and I met him when he fought Hank Lundy here in Cincinnati last year, I guess for New Year's. I think it was on New Year's or something like that. And or maybe that was even, I don't know. It was I know it was a New Year's type fight. You know, it was around then. But you know, he was he was a super nice guy. Number one, he was a super nice guy. Great interview, and I got to talk to him and his trainers and everything like that. And you know, I knew the fight with Lundy was going to go that way, the way it did. You know, but he put up a good fight against Lundy and everything like that. But Lundy's just too experienced for this guy. And why would you put a guy with just, you know, maybe, what was it? At the time, it was like, 11 pro fights? He had like 11 pro fights against Hank Lundy, you know, who was a seasoned veteran. You know, it didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Then he moves up 10 pounds. And this was actually listed at the welterweight level, but I think he was 141 for this fight. He was 131 for his last fight. I think he was 141 for this fight. Why? I mean, it's almost like he's not getting fights. I don't understand really how it works. And I know not everybody can be moved the same type of way and crafted the same career. Sometimes you just got to take what's in front of you. And sometimes they offer you that, you know, where you're the stepping stone and, you know, that's it. But I was really sad to see that, man, because, you know, and I knew going into that fight, Delperdang was probably behind the 8 ball in that fight against Borrego. But, man, I hated to see that, man. He's a good guy and had, you know, a good fighter, you know. So hopefully he stays at it and best of luck to him next time, man. So, yeah. So, yeah, kind of heartbreaking, man. All right, so let's move on to the Top Rank pay-per-view that somebody just asked, is Pryor from Cincinnati? Aaron Pryor, Aaron Pryor is definitely from Cincinnati. So is Broner is the best Cincinnati fighter of all time? Yeah, I guess, he's probably better than Ezra Charles, Aaron Pryor, all those other guys. So, yeah, we'll put him up top. All right, so the Top Rank pay-per-view. Joe, did you catch this on Cody or anything like that? I didn't watch it at all.
Absolutely not.
I didn't watch it at all. In fact, I watched I had to DVR the other fights, but no, I didn't watch this at all. I had no desire to watch it. Told you I wasn't going to watch it, but we do have the results here. Oscar Valdez versus Miguel Mariaga, 12 rounds for Valdez's WBO featherweight title. Valdez kept his title, 119-108, 116-111, and 118-109, all in favor of Valdez, unanimous. After the fight, Valdez called out Leo Santa Cruz or any of the other 126-pound champions. It was funny, man. Chakal said he actually took Mariaga by KO. He said he thought Mariaga was going to knock out Valdez. And Mariaga was dangerous from what I understand throughout the fight, but, yeah, just couldn't get it done, man. And then, of course, we have Gilberto Ramirez versus Max Bursak, 12 rounds for Ramirez's WBO super middleweight title. Ramirez won, from what I understand, a less than exciting 12-round fight, to say the least, against Max Bursak. The scores were 120-106 all across the board, so all three judges. This was a fight that, you know, we want to see Gilberto Ramirez in. we want to see Gilberto Ramirez fight. We don't want to see him fight Matt Bursak. And we certainly don't want to see it on pay-per-view. So this was, one of those fights, man, that nobody really, again, the whole card was just ugh. Shakur Stevenson versus Edgar Brito, the debut of Olympian Shakur Stevenson, silver medalist, wasn't he? Silver medalist, yeah?
Silver medalist, correct.
6 rounds, featherweights. And this one kind of surprised me because it was 6-rounder instead of a 4-rounder. From what I understand, this was a tougher than expected debut for Stevenson, who went all 6 rounds, won 60-54 on all cards. From what I got, man, it's a rough fight for Stevenson, and I understand he largely threw one punch at a time trying to get the knockout, and he was booed very loudly in the post-fight interview. So not a great debut for Stevenson. I mean, he got the win, got it convincingly, 60-54, but definitely rougher than he expected. So Jesse Magdaleno versus Adelson dos Santos, 12 rounds from Magdaleno's WBO junior featherweight title. Magdaleno retained his title with a 2nd-round KO. And Francisco Santana, another heartbreaker here, friend of the show, versus Mahanri Montes, 10 rounds welterweights. Montes wins a split decision over Francisco Santana by the scores of 96-93, 95-94, and 97-92 for Santana. So that was a split decision win. So, Beeb, I'm going to kick this over to you here in a minute. Let's talk about this, man. Let's talk about Gabe Rosado versus Martin Murray. All right, because I didn't catch it. I caught the end of it. With the pushing contest here. Martin Murray won a 12-round majority decision over Gabriel Rosado on Saturday night in Liverpool, England. Both fighters had their moment in this fight. Rosado closed stronger over the last few rounds. The scores were, and this is where it gets dicey here, 119-109, 116-112, both for Martin Murray, and one judge had it a draw, 114-114. Everyone who saw this fight will say that the 119-109 score was ridiculous. After the fight, Rosado and Murray got into a shoving match over the outcome. Give us your thoughts on this.
Close fight. I thought Murray did edge it. I had it 115-113. It was a close fight. In this fight, I thought that Gabe was really, coming and taking it too. He always likes to do. Likes to come forward. Likes to throw a lot of punches. But I don't land. And I'm not saying good shots, but I thought overall, Martin Murray had his back on the ropes, but he was sucking Gabe into a lot of counter shots. I thought he landed cleaner shots. When Martin Murray landed, I thought his shots were cleaner. Gabe really tried hard in this fight, put on a lot of pressure, but again, you move forward, you throw a lot of punches, you still got to land. And if you're hitting gloves, you're hitting forearms, those punches, they're just not. So that's the thing. I thought Gabe looked okay. It was a decent performance. That was a solid performance. Performances in most recent fights. But again, Martin Murray, is a guy too that at this stage of his career, he's starting to slow down a little bit. And hasn't been on the top of his game for a while as well. All in all, I thought Murray, as I said, edged it out. Rosado lives to fight another day. Because this again, I love Gabe. I really do. He's a great guy. He's a really, really good person. But again, his face after every fight, busted open. Didn't happen this fight, luckily. But seeing him get busted open with those gigantic gashes over his eyes over and over again, that's irreparable damage. He's going to have to get plastic surgery at some point if he wants to. And, there's not much tissue left up around that orbital bone area. Blows. So I just think at this stage of his career, he's got to really think about what's going to be next. But again, he keeps getting these pretty decent paydays. So who am I to tell him what to do, man? I'm just concerned for the guy's life after boxing. My whole take on that. Again, it is what it is, man. That's just the human being in me. Not liking to see good people get hurt.
Well, World Rank, and World Rank in the chat brought up a great point. He says that was the best Murray. The version of Murray that is at the same. This version of Murray is at the same level, and that tells you where he is. The same level as Rosado, and that just tells you where he is. And he's right. I mean, he's right.
Yeah.
I mean, Martin Murray should have blew this guy out. This should not have been close. I mean, it should have been 119-109 for real. I mean, clearly it wasn't 119-109, but I mean, that's where it should have been. I mean, really. I mean, that's really where it should have been.
We had no shot in this fight. I really did.
No.
And
So, I mean, where does Martin Murray go from here? I mean, that's he wins the fight, but did he win the fight? You know what I mean? I mean, do these two rematch? I mean, number one, does anybody want to see it? But, is that where they go from here? I don't know, man. I would say this is probably it for Martin. I mean, listen, and I said this before the fight. I said this before they fought. Listen, if Martin Murray can't put it past Gabe Rosado, what does he do? Where is he going from here? And lo and behold, he can't put it past Gabe Rosado, so what do you do,
Yeah, it's tough. It's a dilemma. It's definitely a dilemma.
So if you're the manager, put your promoter hat on here, do you put these two guys together again? And if you don't, where do you take Murray at this point?
If I'm managing Murray, I'm going to look to try to position him for some type of bigger money fight, to be honest with you. Supposed to be probably a tune-up for Murray, and I say that with all due respect to Gabe.
Yeah.
So maybe Murray can get a Berto Ramirez after this, because even though he's a champion, these crossroad type fighters, these gatekeeper type opponents, and again, I hate to say this about Martin Murray, but he's kind of been relegated to that gatekeeper status. So
sure,
maybe he can get a fight with Ramirez at this stage. I don't think that to fight a Gabe Rosado in a fight like that was, a guy that he's supposed to beat handily, gives him a tough fight, so fights him again and may not look great again against the guy you're supposed to beat handily. That's not going to do anything to enhance himself moving forward.
No.
So why not try to get like I said, like maybe an Arthur Abraham or Gilberto Ramirez, something like that. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, if you're not going to do a rematch and try to move forward and try to land some kind of money fight, I don't know. I mean, I don't know where he is, man. All right, let's talk about the upcoming fights here, and also too, Arthur Abraham beat Robin or Krasnicki again, I guess. I'm not sure. Let me see. Let me find that here. I mean, not that anybody really cares. I don't know. Yeah, Arthur Abraham beat Robin Krasnicki. Who cares? He just beat him. That's it. I don't know. Nobody saw the fight. Nobody cares. All right. So let's go to the upcoming fights here. On the 25th, and I believe that's a Tuesday, and I don't have Robbie, my savant, with me today, so he dropped off with Blog Talk, so let's go for it here. Tuesday, April 25th, Mario Barrios versus Nelson Lara, 10 rounds. Junior welterweights, Oscar Molina versus Levan Gamavichava, 10 rounds, junior middleweights, and that'll be on PBC Sports, on PBC on Fox Sports 1. And then on Thursday, April 27th, from Durham, North Carolina, Jamar Freeman versus Jeremy Ramos. Those are 6 rounds middleweights, and they won't be on TV. April 28th, from Studio City in California on Unimas, Casey Ramos versus Miguel Beltran, 10 rounds lightweights. And this is one you'll have to, it's on April 28th as well. You'll have to stream it. It's Kubrat Pulev versus Kevin Johnson from Bulgaria, 12 rounds heavyweights. Is Pulev still a factor in the heavyweight division? I mean, is he really? He was favored big time against Kevin Johnson. I mean, like a 10,000 minus 10,000 favor, which is just gigantic.
I think he's the lower top 10 guy still, and I think with the resurgence, with these new young up and coming guys that are coming up, Joseph Parker, Hughie Fury, Anthony Joshua. I think eventually he's going to probably get. But as of right now, I think he's still a lower top 10 guy.
Yeah, I think so too. And Georgie's in the chat saying we want Robbie. We want him too, buddy. We miss him. All right, we talk about him fondly here, just like he's dead, but it's just Blog Talk is down. He's fine. Just Blog Talk is down, so he will be back with us next week. All right, so let's talk about the April 29th fight. That's Showtime and HBO the same day tape, and that'll be at 10:45. I want to say on HBO, and at like maybe 4 or 5 on Showtime.
It's like 4:30, 4:45 on Showtime. It's an early one.
Yeah, 4:30. Yeah, it's like 4:30 or 4:45 or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, on Showtime. And Showtime is going to show it live. HBO will have 10:45. It'll have the replay. So, of course, that's Anthony Joshua versus Wladimir Klitschko. 12 rounds for Joshua's IBF and vacant WBA heavyweight title. And you talk about becoming the money man of the division. If Joshua wins, he is definitely the money man. He's already arguably the A side in the division now. So who knows? On the undercard, and they always have good undercards on these, man. Luke Campbell versus Darlise Perez, 12 rounds, a WBA lightweight eliminator. Scott Quigg returns the action versus Viorel Simeon, 12 rounds featherweights. Katie Taylor also on the bill, 8 rounds against the dreaded TBA. Lawrence Okoli, the cruiserweight. He is being highly touted, man. He's got a lot of hype behind him.
Isn't Eddie Hearn the best promoter ever? This card is stacked. It's stacked, this card. It's stacked.
Oh, that's awesome. Corey's in the chat, and he just said he's watching the NBA playoffs, and Anthony Joshua versus Klitschko fight came on. The trailer came on. So it's a big fight, man. It's definitely a big fight.
Because Eddie Hearn, the masterful promoter skills.
Has nothing to do with Showtime or anything like that, Showtime and HBO.
Showtime told him what to do. He's directing traffic. Don't worry about it.
He's directing traffic.
Eddie Hearn, baby. Love Eddie Hearn.
And then right after the commercial came a Cialis commercial. So there you go. All right. On same night on Vegas on PBC on Fox Sports 1, you can catch this instead of the Joshua fight. Beibut Shumanov versus Unier. Actually, he's out, and I'll tell you about that more. Carlos Zambrano versus Claudio Marrero, 12 rounds for Zambrano's WBA interim featherweight title. And Layla McCarter versus the dreaded TBA female welterweight. So Ronald Gavril also on that undercard. But, yeah, Beibut Shumanov is out of that, and I'll tell you more about that in the news. From Chihuahua, Mexico, on BN Sports in Espanol, Ramon Alvarez versus Omar Chavez. This is also on Saturday, rematch, 10 rounds, junior middleweights. And Cebu City in the Philippines, you'll have to stream this one. Donnie Nietes versus Comgrich and Nantapec. Easy for me to say. 12 rounds for the vacant IBF flyweight title. So there you go. And that will do it for the fights this weekend. A lot of good fights, man. I do like that. You know what I don't like, though? I'll tell you this right now. What I don't like is why is it, and we'll have to catch the undercard from either Davey Boy Essex or whatchamacallit. We'll just have to stream it from YouTube or something like that, or we'll catch a streamer, Cody. But Box Nation, Luke Campbell versus Darlise Perez. Scott Quigg is on that undercard. I'm talking about the Joshua Klitschko undercard. Katie Taylor, Lawrence Okoli. We got a lot of good fights on there. The only one they're going to show is Klitschko and Joshua. They're not going to show any undercards. I hate that, man. I wish they would, show those.
I agree.
That would be so nice, man, if they did.
I do agree.
Yeah, so that's kind of a bummer. All right, so a quick Robbie story here. Robbie called me early in the week, and he said he just upgraded his DirecTV package to HD, because he gets everything in standard, So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so he upgraded to HD because he doesn't have a DVR, right? He doesn't have a DVR, he upgraded to HD so he can get the DVR and everything like that. So he said he was talking to the guy that was helping him, and he was asking him about Box Nation and Sky Sports, and he said DirecTV said that they were actually in negotiations to get Box Nation and Sky Sports. They were in negotiations, so I don't know how far that goes or whatever. Now, the crazy part about this entire story, the guy that he talked to listens to the show. He said him and a bunch of other guys in his work, they all listen to the show. So I thought that was pretty cool. So shout out to everybody at DirecTV. We love you. So there it is.
Well, we got an endorsement from DirecTV now?
Right? I mean, are we big or what, son?
Nice.
So you and I.
DirecTV shirt now on the air, baby.
Yeah, so you got to get DirecTV now.
I had it, man, but I don't know. They started to aggravate me with the prices. And then Comcast started. I got to tell you this. Comcast came back strong with that X1 box, man. That's awesome, that X1 box.
What does the X1 box do?
You could talk to it. It's got like really advanced technology, man.
Something like that. You could just have a conversation with it.
Like you could change the channels. You could just like HBO, and you're just talking to it. You could just show you on stuff. The DVR is awesome
because pressing buttons on your remote is so cumbersome.
I just love the technology, man. I mean, if the thing could brush my teeth for me, I'd love it. You know what I'm saying? I like these features.
If the thing could brush, Beeb Enterprise is going up.
I got this Note 4, and I had like an S Pen, and I said to myself, what am I going to do with an S Pen? All the time on this phone. This thing's like my notebook.
Okay, so let me understand this. Okay, so you got the Galaxy, all right, and it's got a pen with it. So instead of just doing it like, online and like everybody else and just typing everything, now you actually go manual. You actually go old school and start writing everything down on the tablet. You actually just revert.
When you want to write something down real quick and you don't want to like, okay, let me say this. So you can type things down, right? But what app do you have that you can type something down and save it? You'll open up S Note. And you could use your pen, you look at this. You could write things down quicker than you could type. You know what I'm saying? Look at this, 2 seconds.
Yeah, but it's all scratch though. You can't read it. It's all chicken scratch.
I can write. Oh, I can write, man. I have great penmanship, man. I got an A in penmanship when I was in school. Don't criticize the penmanship, please. I used to write better than some of the girls in my class. Come on. I hate on the Beeb's penmanship skills.
You know what you need to do is just get you an iPhone and be done with it. That's what you need to do. Just get an iPhone.
I can't stand it.
It's the best. Really? Why? What is it about iPhones you don't like?
I like the Android. I just think it has more features and stuff. I like my back button. I like being able to have that open source that I don't have to go through Apple. I don't have to go through iTunes for everything. You know what I mean? I could play any type of video. I could like music and get free music without having to buy it from iTunes. I just like this, man. I like the open source system of this. You know what I mean? I don't like the socialist system that the iPhone has. You have to use I this, I that.
It's
not about I. It's about team. It's about everything. Everything.
The socialist system of the iPhone. What's the matter with you?
That's funny.
All right. So let's move ahead here to the news and rumors section, man. And once again, it's at Montero Unboxing on Twitter. And also to check out his YouTube page. Just type in Michael Montero, but it's actually his YouTube page is Michael Montero Unboxing. So and it's at Montero Unboxing.
All right, we'll get him next week.
Yeah, we'll get him. We'll get him on here. He wants to do the show. But yeah, so just I feel bad for him. Yeah, I feel bad that he took his time out and came to come on the show, and this is what happened. And Blog Talk sucks. All right, enough about that.
He's a good guy.
Yeah, real good guy. All right, so our news and rumors. We're going to start this off. Beeb, it's time.
You want to do the train wreck? Come on. All right, you gonna do it? Come on. Let's go. Ready?
Go.
camera now. Don't be a chicken. Don't be a chicken. Get on camera.
Chugga, 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 chugga. Choo, choo.
There we go.
All right.
There we go. All right. Beeb, this is going to come as the ultimate shock to you. It came as the ultimate shock to me. I couldn't believe it. Adrian Broner was arrested this week. More trouble. TMZ was reporting more trouble for boxing star Adrian Broner, who was arrested in Kentucky early Thursday morning after Covington PD officers pulled over his white SUV, which had several bullet holes in it. Let me just explain this. Covington is right next to Cincinnati. I mean, it's right across the bridge. So the two, it's like if you're downtown one place, you're downtown the other place. So if you're downtown Cincinnati, you're pretty much downtown in Kentucky. So they're all kind of like intermingled, So Broner was driving a white Chevy Suburban, trying to cross it into Kentucky when when officials noticed a warrant for his arrest stemming from a failure to appear in court from a previous arrest in 2014 for disorderly conduct and alcohol intoxication. Crazy. While taking Broner into custody, officers noticed several bullet holes in the SUV, and Broner claimed that he had been shot at by an unknown suspect after leaving a bar in Cincinnati earlier in the evening. Broner says that he was not hurt in the shooting. He does not know why he was attacked. Cops say they did find evidence of the shooting at the alleged crime scene, including several shell casings. Broner told the police as he was being arrested, "I'm rich and I don't give a F."
Rich, bitch!
Remember that Chappelle thing?
Oh my God.
Wow. Yeah, World Rank just said Cincinnati's best fighter ever. Wow. Broner is such a stand-up guy. He does everything by the book. This whole arrest thing just really shocked me. Really shocked me. Beeb, what were your thoughts when you heard about this?
First of all, buddy on YouTube here, because he made a video about this I want to say a couple months ago, and he said, you know what? Stop effing around. Get shot. He goes, mark my words, this guy's going to get shot. They're going to come after him. As he's been doing. Sheldon Harrison, check him out on YouTube. He's hilarious. It's hilarious that he predicted this because no one wants to see anyone get shot. Well, he called this, man. And I was saying to myself, I mean, he does a lot of crazy things, but does anyone really want to kill him? And shout out to the coach because he was right, man. You gotta look at yourself. He's got, he's a father. He's got kids. He's got a fiance. He's gonna get married.
He's got
great career.
Yeah,
he's got a great career. He has he can make millions and millions of dollars. So I don't understand, does these things, why he puts himself in these types of situations. Obviously, there's something that is not making him happy, and for whatever reason, he has to go out there and he's like an adrenaline junkie for whatever reason. He likes drama. He likes the chaos. It seems. So when you live this type of lifestyle, eventually, it's going to catch up with you. And as the coach said, they missed this time, but who knows what's going to happen next time. So it is what it is. Shout out to Coach Sheldon Harrison.
I got a different take on this. I mean, and just, because, look, Bronner's got like 5 or 6 kids. He's got something like that. He's got a gaggle of kids. But put all that to the side for a minute. What about guys like Robert Easter? All right, what about Robert? What are you thinking? What are you thinking about if you're Robert Easter? All right, because look, man, the bottom line is that guy who just got arrested and gets arrested multiple times is controlling, your career in a lot of ways. He's the promoter. He's signed on with AB. Robert Easter is signed on with AB Promotions, about Billions Promotions or whatever he wants to call it this week. He signed on with him. And how safe would you feel if your promoter is getting locked up, you know, he's got, you know, people shooting at him. He's got, I mean, seriously, what, if you're Robert Easter, what's going through your mind at this point? I mean, if you sit back and you take a look at this, man, I tell you, I don't know, man. I mean, if I'm Robert Easter, I'm thinking to myself, is there a way I can get out of this contract?
Well, I mean, Robert Easter still has Al Heyman, so as long as Al Heyman's involved in the equation, then, you know, good things are going to happen if you're assigned to Al Heyman. So I think, you know, that's the biggest thing to think about here. That's the ace in the hole right there for you if you have Al Heyman on your side. Yeah. So you know, just like with you know, Richard Schaefer, De La Hoya, the situation Oscar De La Hoya was going through a lot of drama and all his fighters. Who knows, you know, if Adrian Broner doesn't have his life in order? Who knows if he has his promotional company in order? Who knows if he even has paperwork on these guys, or if it's legit, or if there's not some type of loophole? I don't know. I'm speculating. I don't know any of this stuff, but I'm just thinking to myself, Oscar De La Hoya, his personal life was in chaos, and we saw how he handled business. He ended up losing a ton of fighters over it. Same thing with Adrian Broner. He could be in the same situation, in my opinion. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's true too. I mean, I don't understand, like, you know, look, I mean, like I said, when you have kids and he's got a family and now he's got a legitimate business, you know, he's a professional boxer, number one. He's in the Adrian Broner business. I mean, because, you know, really, he's, you know, he's the A side in a lot of fights, man. I mean, if he decides to fight, he draws people there and he brings viewers. So in a sense, you know, when you're a boxer, you're promoting yourself. You're an individual. You kind of become your own business, you know. Now he's got a promotional business and he's got a bunch of fighters underneath it. I mean, a good amount of fighters underneath it anyway. He's got one champion. I mean, when does this start? I mean, when does this nonsense end? Going to bars, getting shot at? I mean, where does it end? And again, he's almost, what, 30? I don't know if he is 30 yet. I don't know how old he is. But when does this nonsense stop? I mean, when do you start taking responsibility? And we heard it at the press conference last time with the Granados press conference. You know, I'm turning my life around. I don't want to talk any trash. I just want to live my life, a clean life, and give my kids the best of my wife, my family, and, you know, grow about billions and everything like that. And I'm fairly certain that, I mean, you know, because, you know, I know some of the guys that work behind the scenes at About Billions, and it's legitimate. I mean, they've got paperwork on these guys, and they, you know, this
okay,
you know,
all right,
that kind of thing. And I mean, it's a legitimate thing. But what, you know, my thing is like, wow, what do you know, if I'm one of those guys that boxes under this guy's banner, and I mean, at least Floyd just talks, you know. I mean, and he had his thing a little while ago where he went to jail or whatever, but you know, he's largely stays out of things. I mean, he doesn't let drama. It's like Adrian Broner takes drama and runs, and it's not like he just takes drama. He's in the law. I mean, he's getting arrested. This guy is like, you know, it's like, when does this all stop? When do you grow up?
Yeah, that's a good question, Eric. I don't know, but it's got to change, or let's put it that way.
Georgie said in the chat, do you think alcohol might have something to do with it? Yeah, I think it might. You think? Alcohol, some kind of drugs. What did Rick James say about cocaine? You know, so yeah, I just it's insane. And you, I don't know if you saw him, like I don't know, we got the video on Ringside Reporter also. If you watch the video of Adrian Broner and him being arrested, the police has got the body cam on and he's talking. Just the way he's talking, he just sounds like a moron. You know, it's just like, what are you doing, man? Just settle down. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, all right. Parker and Fury could be off. Looks like the WBO heavyweight champion Joseph Parker's May 6th title defense against Hughie Fury might be off. WBO president Paco Valarcel tweeted the following: as of today, quote, as of today, it seems there will be no WBO heavyweight world title fight in New Zealand. It seems the problem lies within Team Fury. What's going on with your boy Fury? Wasn't this where it wasn't his father couldn't make it in, or somebody couldn't make his trainer? Somebody couldn't make it into New Zealand. Did you hear about this? You heard something about this?
I know there was an issue before. You know, he couldn't have I think his father couldn't be ringside or something like that. I don't know. I have to a little bit more. I just heard that it was being off. I don't know the exact details. Maybe Davey Boy in the chat, he may know a little bit more than me about it. But I don't know the exact details of the whole situation. But I know his father, some type of past or something like that. I'm not sure if it's his father or it's. I know Tyson Fury's father has a criminal record or whatever, so he's a felon. He can't go into certain. I guess if you can't get a passport or something if you're a felon. I think correct me if I'm wrong, guys in the chat, but I think that was an issue with Tyson Fury's dad. I don't know the situation with I don't know if what's going on with him, but
yeah,
it's something's got to be off. I don't know what it is though.
Yeah, somebody in the chat just said that Huey Fury, his father, got a visa like 2 weeks ago. So I don't know that that's really necessarily the case, and I don't know.
It's probably something else. Then.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know.
Thank you, guys. I just did that.
Yeah, Davey Boy Essex just said here Peter got granted into New Zealand, so it can't be that. So,
okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I don't know. Wow. Craziness. All right, so a lot of people were talking when Julius Ndongo won his fight last week. Let's put him against Crawford for a big unification. Not so fast. The IBF has thrown a monkey wrench into the idea of Julius Ndongo versus Terrence Crawford. The IBF has put out a statement telling Ndongo that he has to face mandatory challenger Sergey Lipinets. So, what do you think about that, Beeb? I mean, would you want to see him fight Sergey Lipinets or Terrence Crawford, or should he just let that title go and fight Terrence Crawford?
Oh, I'd like to see him fight Terrence Crawford, obviously. Why not? But again, these I don't know. I don't know, how Sergey Lipinets gets that position, that slot, but the IBF rankings are crazy, man. They're crazy.
Yeah, I don't. Why would you deny the IBF? I mean, if you're the IBF, why would you deny that unification? That makes no sense. It's a bigger money.
Yeah, they're big on enforcing the mandatories. They always have been. And again, sanction bodies and question them and stuff. But I've always looked at the IBF rankings and I've always scratched my head. I just have. I think you could look at that sanctioning body and say that they're the most strict and stringent following their rules and regulations. The WBC sometimes will make a rule or a regulation and they'll waffle on it. They won't follow through with it. The IBF always does. Their rankings are always crazy. They're always suspect. They seem to have the worst rankings out of all the sanctioning bodies. So we'll see what happens. And again, with all due respect to Sergey Lipinets, but I just don't know what he's done to justify that ranking.
Yeah, I don't hate the fight. I don't hate Ndongo versus Lipinets, but at the same time, it's not the fight I want to see. I definitely want to see him against Crawford, rather than that. It's funny going back to the Huey Fury fight here. Bama Boy in the chat says, "Where does Parker go now?" He said, "Finally, Wilder." That's I would. Why not? That's a good fight. Why not?
Yeah, and then the interesting thing too is Wladimir Klitschko fight. It's for Joshua's IBF title, but it's also for the vacant WBA title. And you have Wilder obviously with the WBC heavyweight title. So if he's able to unify against Parker, so you have WBC and WBO versus the IBF, so that'll be if they were able to so,
yeah,
an interesting dynamic to the fight.
Who do you like in that fight?
Do I like Wilder versus Parker?
Yeah.
Or Josh? Yeah, I like Wilder in that fight.
You like Wilder in that fight? Yeah, I think so. I tell you what, he didn't. Parker doesn't do it for me.
No.
He's got he's got power. He's kind of dangerous, but what was it? Andy Ruiz's last fight? Wasn't that his last fight? That's where he won. And a lot of people thought that fight could have went the other way. So yeah.
Yeah, he didn't look great in that fight at all.
No. As we mentioned earlier, Beib Shumanov was supposed to fight April 29th. He is out with an eye injury. He apparently suffered an eye injury on training on Wednesday and will not be able to defend his title versus Junior Torticos. And that was supposed to be on the PBC on April 29th. So, he's out. Some upcoming fights that were signed this week. Andre Durrell, or made official this week. Andre Durrell versus Jose Uzcategui for May 20th. David Benavidez versus Rogelio Porky Medina set for May 20th. And hang on to your seats because this is a blockbuster. And when you think of blockbuster, everybody thinks of Guillermo Rigondeaux. All right, and he is signed to fight. Guillermo Rigondeaux will fight Moises Chucky Flores, set for the Ward Kovalev 2 undercard. Hank Lundy back in action in Philadelphia, no less, against Ricardo Lara on June 2nd. Adonis Stevenson versus Andrew Fonfara is now official and has been inked for June 3rd. And then, of course, Ivan Redkach versus Argenis Mendez set for May 2nd on the PBC. All right. And finally, Nick Durant, a renowned South African boxing trainer. Nick Durant died in a motorcycle accident near Clarence in the Free State on Friday. I believe it was in South Africa. He was 53. Robert interviewed him. Robert and Billy from the Badlands show. They interview a lot of fighters from South Africa, and Nick Durant was one of them. And we were going to have Robert talk about this, but clearly he can't today. But Nick Durant was I know they interviewed him. He was a super nice guy, great interview, and he will definitely be missed, especially in the South African boxing scene. So, very sad news this week. So, all right. And that will do it for this edition of Ringside Reporter. As always, you can catch Robert on Twitter at Ringside Robert, or you can call Ringside Robbie's Corner. And I believe I have the number right, but I'm not 100% sure. 773-572-7781. That could be his old number, and he's probably yelling at me right now if he can hear the show. You can leave a message there. You can catch Joe Habib on Twitter at jhabib1 and find his YouTube channel at www.beatingtheoddswithbeeb.com. I'm at Ringside 73, and we'll see you next week without the technical difficulties.
Take care, everyone.